Now here's Williamson feeling it out a bit. That sure won't help your 2K rating, Zion.
As time progresses forward, this narrative just gets worse and worse and is pretty much robbing us of one of the most talented players in the NBA. It's something that I personally am absolutely terrified of because the situation doesn't seem to be getting better, and we've seen this exact problem happen with other players that ultimately resulted in their demise. So what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here. We are dropping these shirts officially on TheFlightMike.com. It's the perfect gift to purchase for somebody that believes the Chicago Bulls are overrated. And of course, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, turn on our notifications, and check out our social medias in the description down below. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro.
Warming up. We don't have him. It could be another 2-3 weeks. But Chuck, you had a visceral reaction to this.
It looked like me and Shaq had a baby.
Mike Chuck 1212, what's going on, everybody? So the last time we discussed the Zion Williamson information, we got some news that made me feel very uncomfortable. Coming into his NBA career, Zion Williamson's height was 6'7". His weight was 274 pounds. This caused a lot of concern considering the fact that LeBron James is 6'9" and weighs 250 pounds, and I believe that is probably the most ideal weight you could get to in order to be a player that is as explosive as Zion Williamson without potentially screwing over his career or making him subject to injury. In the past, we've used examples of players that have been way too heavy for their weight, and unfortunately, the combination of how fast they are and how agile and athletic they are, combined with the fact that they are overweight for their size, eventually results in their demise. A very popular example that I like using on the channel is DeMarcus Cousins, a player that tore his Achilles in the very beginning with the New Orleans Pelicans. By the time he returned from his Achilles tear, he kind of understood, okay, I need to lose a decent amount of weight if I want to continue playing at this weight and not risk further injury. But by then it was too late. The man also tore his ACL right before he had an opportunity with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, instead of being a player that should have signed a $170 million contract during that year that he did tear his Achilles, he's a player that is a glorified role player a little bit prematurely. Now, the counter example to this is Shaquille O'Neal. People always mention how overweight Shaq was and how agile this man was. And not to take anything away from one of my favorite players of all time, which I also saw perform at EDC this past weekend, which was awesome, by the way. Who knew Shaq was a dubstep DJ? I had no idea, but I digress. You didn't see Shaq push off of his legs with the force that Zion Williamson consistently does. You don't see Shaq trying to drive it in on his opponents, at least not prime Shaq or any version of Shaq. Zion Williamson's game is 100% based upon his burst, or as LeBron James likes to say, his quick twitch. His ability to explode towards the basket is the reason why Zion Williamson scored 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists per game during his sophomore season in the NBA. The dude was an absolute beast when he played. He contributed 10.6 wins to the New Orleans Pelicans off of a 26 PER, and despite his team not necessarily being the best, he had an offensive box plus minus of a 5.8 and a value over replacement player of a 3.8. If I was to compare the beginning of Zion Williamson's career to any other player, it would be pretty much what Luka Doncic was able to do at a young age and LeBron James was able to do at a young age in terms of at least their impact on the court. In Luka Doncic's rookie year, he was able to contribute 4.9 wins, and in his sophomore year, he was able to contribute 8.8 wins to the Dallas Mavericks. LeBron James, on the other hand, it's kind of harder to make that comparison, but in the case of LeBron James, just so you could get an appreciation for how remarkable this man was, he was able to contribute 14.3 wins towards the Cleveland Cavaliers in just his second season. But regardless, it seems like Zion Williamson was able to scratch the surface of his potential potential. And going into this offseason, there was a lot of hope for him. He finally had an offseason to really get it together, get his conditioning straight, and make sure he was able to play at a sustainable weight. And bear in mind, during the earlier parts of your career, you can get away with being a little overweight. We saw what LeBron James looked like when he was on the Miami Heat, and compared to what he looked like when he was in his second stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers, it kind of made sense why he eventually dropped all of that weight. He didn't want to put too much pressure on his knees, which could eventually result in a torn Achilles or a torn ACL. But in Zion Williamson's case, it seems like as time progresses forward, more and more misfortune happens, and it seems like the things that people were saying about this guy from the moment he got drafted are starting to get more and more legitimate. We got an update today from the head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans, Willie Green, who told reporters on Monday that doctors were encouraged by the latest set of scans on Zion Williamson's injured foot and that he is able to do 5-on-0 work but no contact yet. Now, I love the language of this article. Listen to what they say, because I was thinking something else originally when I first read this. Willie Green said he's cutting. No, bro, he's not cutting in the sense that he just finished a mean, dirty bulk and he wants to get underweight. He's cutting in terms of being able to cut to the basket. He's doing more explosive work. He's running. He's getting closer and closer. It's just one of those injuries where we want to be really diligent, especially with the foot, of being careful when we put him back on the floor at full go. I think he has to go through some of that to see where he is. You have to feel the real grind and bump of playing against competitors, and that's the part he hasn't done yet. We just want to continue for him to progress in the right direction without any setbacks. The Pelicans could desperately use Zion because so far they've only won one game, and we got an update from Will Gullery earlier today saying that Willie Green says that Zion Williamson had his scans done on his foot. He's cutting, doing some work on the floor. He isn't cleared to do 5-on-5 work. The plan is for him to get another round of scans in 2 to 3 weeks. That'll free him up to be a full participant in practice. And Mark Stein doubled down on this, saying that Zion is out for at least 2 to 3 more weeks, Pels coach Willie Green told reporters today. But the scary part about all of this is currently, even if Zion Williamson is technically cleared to play, should you let a man that is officially 6'7", weighing in at 300 pounds, play a full-length NBA basketball game? That sounds like a fantastic way to potentially risk further injury to one of the more transcendent talents that the NBA has to offer. Even furthermore, there's this huge conspiracy theory suggesting that Zion Williamson is doing this on purpose to send a message to the New Orleans Pelicans. If you remember a while back, there's this article about Zion Williamson's family not being happy about the direction of the New Orleans Pelicans and wanting Zion to do whatever it takes to get out of New Orleans. Now, Zion gave us this interview where he said he was really happy with the New Orleans Pelicans.
Do you want to maybe take a minute just to kind of clarify where you all are and how you feel about the administration, the organization, the city, and everything?
Fletcher, that might be the best question of the day. I'm glad you asked that. How I feel about the organization? I love it here. I love the city of New Orleans. Don't want to be anywhere else. My relationship with Griff, it's all love with me and Griff. It ain't much to dive into. It's just love between us. We're both competitors. We both want to win. Do we disagree on some things? Yeah, who agrees on everything? We don't, but I think that's what makes our relationship great. We both bring the best out of each other, and we're just gonna keep building off that.
But at the same time, this doesn't seem like a situation where Zion would come out and straight up say, I'm unhappy here, trade me, because this is a guy that's literally just in his 3rd year in the NBA and has barely done anything in the NBA so far either. So far in 3 seasons, obviously we're only like 7 games into the new regular season, Zion has only played 85 games, which is just a little bit more than a full regular season. So it just seems very premature to get drafted number 1 overall in the 2019 NBA draft only to come and say, hey, I want out of the New Orleans Pelicans and I'm going to start wearing fat suits. At the same time, I don't think the man's doing himself any favors with the NBA 2K/Mountain Dew commercial that he just shot. Mountain Dew, shoutouts to you guys. You knew what you were doing with that. They knew if they got Zion in that position, it would be a viral meme. From a marketing perspective, not only was that brilliant, but you guys are kind of evil. But in addition to that, you have Zion Williamson at a bad angle looking overweight. You have Zion Williamson, who was rumored to have worn like 4 or 5 articles of clothing when he took the court for the New Orleans Pelicans to warm up in front of a national audience, which I don't know if I really buy either. There's so many excuses you could give at this point, and to be honest, I'm not buying any of it. The concern for me isn't Zion getting underweight again. I do think this is 100% directly as a result of him breaking his foot, so it's a little bit harder for him to do some cardio. But as time progresses forward, if Zion gains more weight, he's more susceptible to injury, injury and his career may get tragically cut short, which is what I hope doesn't happen. I don't think this is part of some conspiracy for Zion. I think it's just a series of bad luck as a result of him being an absolute gargantuan human being and a tremendously athletic physical specimen. I'm not here to fat shame the guy, but when you do get injured and you sustain an injury to your foot, you can't run as much anymore, chances are you're going to gain some weight. What I would do if I was the New Orleans Pelicans is, the moment he is cleared to play, it's time to get him on a legitimate diet that might sideline him for an additional month, because typically if you need to do something like cutting carbs, or if you need to put him on an intermittent fasting diet, or if you want to even do something more extreme like put him on a ketogenic diet, then chances are he is not going to have the energy to play NBA games, and even then he could risk further injury. It really just depends what the Pelicans want to do here. Do you want to get Zion Williamson back on a basketball court as quickly as possible, even though he might be a little bit overweight, or do you prefer to get him back, potentially take an extra month or two off to really try to gradually make sure he is in playing shape before you put him back out there so you don't risk injuring your transcendent franchise cornerstone? This isn't to fat shame Zion. This is more of a strategy to make sure the Zion Williamson situation doesn't get any worse. Hopefully he does return to the court soon, because watching him play was absolutely awesome. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.